because they've left a really nice clean face for us. Quite often, your bucket will just destroy this surface part, and it's kind of hard to get a good look at what's going on. Do we have a hand shovel? Oh, great. I'll just have to clean this out later. There's a big piece of smearing here. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay, everybody see the smearing here? When that starts to happen, it tells you you've got clay starting to be present, and it doesn't take all that much to cause it to smear when you're digging the pit. As you're cleaning it off, just pay attention to coarse fragments.
Okay, Kent, I'll be logging the pit for you.
Okay.
And you'll be logging it.
You'll be writing it.
I'll be writing it.
Okay.
Which one do you want to use? Do you use our basic one?
No,
You've got a Kent form.
No, I'm going to give you. I've got an abbreviated version. I think I got
so
one.
we get Kent to log it.
He'll be here. He'll be all here all day.
And he's right. This is the only time in the course that you can be wrong. No, that's not quite true.
Well, I guess we're going to have to use one of these ones.
But there are definitely answers to these. Not too many options.
Okay, we can. Oh, that's one I've made up for the soils guys.
Yeah.
It's cut a bunch of stuff out of it.
Surveyor, going for a surveyor. Is that you? Are you surveying the soil?
I'm the surveyor. You're the recorder. I don't know if it's got a.
Walmart pencils.
Did it work?
What?
Is my pencil working? Or do you have one?
Oh, I have millions of pencils. And none of them work because I bought them at Walmart.
Oh.
Important things. Today's my wife's birthday and I'm not home. It's your fault. So, I'm putting that guilt on you guys. Hey, happy birthday. Happy birthday. I hate to say this, Prentice, but my wife is better looking than you. So, you have your 16 designs under your belt yet? 17. Doesn't go that fast. Uh-oh.
Am I too deep?
You're too deep.
Oh, I got to get out of the hole?
1.4.
I'm getting.
Ken? Okay, 1.2. You're all right. Just don't step in that little trench you made.
Okay. I think there's another layer there.
Yeah. But we can do an overdig later if you want.
Yeah, it'd be nice to go down a little further.
Yeah, that's what we usually do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Always go down deep in one of them. So Ken, can we do photos afterwards instead
No.
of during?
You do them
Okay. Or do you want to do
in terms of when you want to photograph your profile.
Yeah.
You do it now. That's the first thing you're going to do once you clean it off. And you're not going to stand up there and shoot down. You're going to get in here and try and get it as straight on as possible. I have a 1 meter meter stick that I use. It's in the truck too.
Somebody want to go back to Kent's truck and get the meter stick?
There's a white meter stick.
Please?
In the,
Anybody volunteer? Thank you.
yeah.
And I'll go with Betty. That's 10 points.
You want to kneel?
I knelt on that, I never get up.
So, Prentice, just stick here until we figure out over there.
Somebody got my stick yet? Great. Okay. Can I get the whole thing in?
Are you guys making notes of what you may see from up there on the tape? No, how things get set up? 3 feet round.
Not what I taught you yesterday.
Do you see any dark black?
Yeah.
Do you see any dark black? So, Kent is a big fan of taking very clear photos, so bear with him for a moment. How many rifles can you see?
Okay, I need everybody right behind with the head shadows. I need them out, so if you're blocking it, just move. Or lay down on the ground.
Yeah, the guy with the small head.
Oh, I am still there. Look, I didn't get any shadow views, and I got the wrong one.
And the one behind
Okay,
that.
there we go.
So, it's okay for Kent to go through this, as long as it doesn't take too much time.
No.
Because all this stuff goes into forms and documents and slides so that he can make a better teaching presentation and stuff like that. So, we'll just bear with it. Looks all the same from here to here, doesn't it? Do you see any, if you take a look closely, you can see any changes. Oh, rooting. Rooting. Yeah, good. I like that. So for people that were in the class over the last
Somebody's still putting a shadow in here.
they will
Thank you. Thanks, that's better.
they're
Itch.
attracted to the sun. people know this already, but for the rest of you, I'll put it out there. Some of Kelowna compromised my hearing quite remarkably. And I'm only getting a little bit improved now, so if I'm not paying attention to you, it's because I don't like you. No, it's because I'm not really hearing you. So bear with me on that, okay? I didn't hear anything.
We're all deaf.
I heard that. What else do you see in the face there when you're looking down? Remember what Kent was talking about up top? There's a bit of stone activity in there, isn't it?
Let's get over here on the sun side. So now you can take your knife and just start going down, pushing it in.
Can you see this?
Can you guys see from the other side of me?
What's that?
So all of a sudden, right here, it's got a little harder. Now we can definitely see that there's a change here, right?
So why did Kent put that T in right here?
It got harder right
Sand
there.
and hardness,
Yeah.
right?
And then there's a change right down here. Okay, let's grab a pin here. Oops, that's why.
Fancy bumping into you down there.
Yeah, gee.
Who am I bumping heads with? Kent, maybe somewhere off the way. Sound like my ears didn't work very good.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see if there's a change between here and here. Intuition tells me there is, but I can't really see it. Well, if I get at this angle, we may have a color change right there.
From this angle, it looks
Yeah.
like it too. Does that coincide with the stone?
It might be. Might be.
I'm kind of looking along this plane.
Yeah. And when I'm looking from here, there's a subtle difference just in color here. It's possibly all the same, but I'm going to mark it off anyways.
I see it
Whoops.
change right roughly in two, but I could be
Up top, yeah.
sort of in that.
Right there, yeah. Yeah, that's, we can mark it. Now, is there a piece of blank paper in there?
A blank what?
Sheet of blank shit.
Blank shit. I have my book over there.
Do you? There might be just a blank one in the here.
Oh, you got the. So do it better.
I'm going to take another shot of that while I'm here.
Bowl piles. So if you got lots of little bowl piles, what are you thinking about here? No, more along the physical lines. You probably don't want to put in chambers here because those valves will build it up, right? You'll get blockage.
You know what they will do? They will plug it right off. They won't build it up. They'll plug it right off. You can lift the chamber off and have the total impression of chamber. So, and they're all over here.
Something to think about.
They don't go in rock. And like I had to tear one apart that somebody else built. And where he put an inspection board, he put rock. The only place that they didn't go
1,
in.
2, 3,
The whole
4.
field
We got
was
4 up there.
gone.
I'm gonna put hardness at 25 centimeters.
So then what you
Okay.
do on your chambers, if you have to do chambers or on your sand mound, you put gravel down,
2, 3, 4.
and then we put the chambers down and cover it with rock. And then stop building. Where it was a pressure system, but you still have to do that.
So that's a design choice that gets made when you know the conditions more than just doing a test pit. Yep.
Do you want more cardboard?
No, I got one more horizon just to go.
What do you think Kent is preparing for right now? He's doing that. Cardboard. Background of white paper. Put the soil on top. Put your color chart. If you use color charts, pick the color chart. And he's laying them out in horizon.
To see if there's any.
Color of each horizon.
Oops.
So those first three are pretty damn close.
Yeah.
One's just got more
Yeah.
But then we
fragments.
see
Three
these
adjectives there. Pretty, damn.
Close.
PDC. That's what you put on your soil log.
UDC.
What I also found is, I used some cardboard, but if you're doing a
Got
lot
tape?
of testing, I put
Mine's here somewhere.
I
Where is
put
it?
right on here and whatever test pit I'm in, so that when you're doing the pictures, take a picture of it. You remember which one, and start with the picture, and then when you get to the new pit, you start with the picture number of the next pit, and you'll know where your pictures belong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because when you're in the same soil, you can get unsure.
So you want to mark a number 1 on that one, or
So,
So I can take a picture of this and
And you
just
can
put it on
label
the
it.
picture
you could label it?
because my
Yeah.
my
But when
app
you're out
lets me
here in
label
the
it.
when you're out here in the field, you don't want to be fooling around. You just want to.
Okay,
Well-
Kent?
okay, now how many of you would have said that from here to here was all the same? Just by looking at it when you first came here. First glance, right? And first glance, when I looked at it, I thought the same thing. It looks all the same, but there's subtle differences, and that's what we're picking up. So for fun, I'm going to label these guys. And the top one, this guy here, is an AH. You can label these one, but if you want, just write down AH. Little h says there's a lot of humus in here. Okay, this is not an organic layer. Okay, so find a description form.
You guys got all your logs out there? Pencils? Make sure you put your names on it.
So AH1.
We'll collect them at the end of the day.
AH1?
They're
Yep.
part of the
And the depth is
part of the
about-
grade.
I haven't done that yet. I'll just get them down first. Okay.
They're using a different one.
You can choose whatever form you want.
Well, no, they
I
can't
no.
because we gave them one.
You gave them one. Okay.
Um,
I'm going to
you just write
redesign
it
this
in
a
on the
bit more
horizon.
for the on-site.
Somewhere
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing this horizon.
That's what I
this horizon,
designed that one for. It's specifically for this.
Okay.
No, that's the right form.
So, just for the
Well,
sake,
in this area, so
just for the sake of safety, maybe you can pull Gord back from the edge. Don't step close to the edge here, because I have had them cave in on me, so.
We're just trying to stay safe. The last time we did this, we had a small collapse.
Yeah.
Well, not the last time,
Okay.
2 times ago.
Okay. Did everybody get AH1? Second horizon,
Second horizon.
AH2.
You paying attention? All the talkers?
Second horizon, AH2. Third horizon, AH3.
Ooh.
Fourth, I'm going to call that an AB. You could call it an AH4 or an capital A, capital B as a transition.
You can just put the names of the horizons somewhere in the comments or whatever. Each one of these is a horizon. Okay?
Yeah. AB or AH4, whatever you want. It's your choice. Then the next one is a BM for modified. That's this guy down here. A BM for modified. That's the brown one. And then at the very bottom, we're into the C. Capital C.
Do you need to be closer, or are you all right?
Well, I guess I'm much closer, but I can't see what's going on on the other side.
Yeah.
Did you find the other location?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Francis and
Did you add?
I didn't interfere yet.
Okay.
We found the other locations if you want to.
Sorry about that, fellas.
What?
They're gonna dig the other test pits.
Oh, okay. Does everybody have the horizons down? Okay, now we're going to measure. Everybody ready for the measurements?
Pay attention and we'll get through quicker.
So you're just going to bring the ruler down from the top, and it's 0 to 12 for the AH, 0-12
Are you doing inches?
centimeters.
Centimeter, okay. CM, yeah. We don't want to know.
So 0 to 12. Next horizon, 12 to 25. $25 to $61. $61 to $90. $90 to $130. That's to the bottom pin, okay? Not 90 to 130. And then it's 130 to about 136. That's the bottom of the pit. Always give the bottom of the pit number so you know how deep you've been. Okay, what do we got next? What do I want to do next?
So I got mixes percent by volume.
First fragment's okay.
Okay. No, that's fine. Turn them up. Just don't put these down.
there is a helmet and there might be a vest. Hard hat, there might be a hard hat.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the grade, the structure. Where are we? Down here. And the coarse fragments at the same time. So when I take this out, I'm going to get a sense of what the coarse fragments are.
I can
You-
transfer this down here
You
too?
transfer this down here.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do next, paying attention, I'm going to do two things at the same time here. I'm going to take the sample out for the grade, and from that sample, I'm also going to see if I can get an estimate of the coarse fragments at the same time. So to do the grade, your trowel goes in or your knife goes in. Nice big plant root there. Get rid of him.
Remember what Kent said yesterday about the grade, which is our weak, moderate, or strong. You want to keep it all in your hands, because part of it is the head versus loose.
Do I have any PEDs in here? Not really. We got a bit of one there. So what would you say the grade is? It's weak. Now when I'm looking at the weak stuff, I've got some very small PEDs. They're around 1 centimeter and smaller. This be then. So it's grade 1.
Heads, centimeter or so.
Or less.
Fine. No, that's not a structure.
That's
Masking structure.
masking structure. Granular, bingo. You get the beer tonight. So it's weak, weak, granular for the AH1.
You called it a grade 1?
Yes,
It's weak.
weak, so which is grade 1.
We went over the grades versus the weak, moderate, strong, right?
Not slightly moderate.
No, those are different. That's the consistency. Let's not get into that quite yet. Kent will do that in a minute.
So this soil is moist. And when I can find one of these little granular PEDs, they just fall apart on me. Okay, I'm hardly putting any pressure on them. So they're very friable. Loose is sand.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Make sure, what people do, I mentioned this yesterday, make sure that you don't mix up single grain sand and call it granular. Because people do that, and that's going to do different things for your loading, okay? Now, coarse fragments in here, just a quick look at it. Doesn't appear that I have very much on the surface. And so right now, just sort of picking through this, I'm just pulling them out where I can find them.
Do you think the coarse fragments are less than 7.5? More than 7.5? Texturizing centimeters?
So what constitutes a coarse fragment?
3/4 inch.
greater than 2 millimeters in size. Anything greater than 2 millimeters, that is a rock, is a coarse fragment. So initially here, we're probably looking maybe about, I would put down 5 to 10% based on what I'm seeing right now. And remember, coarse fragments is done by volume. So when you're looking at this face here, you say, well, there's, I don't see anything. Well, I see one little one here. So you're looking at a plane surface, but the coarse fragments are recorded by volume, which is a depth here as well. So this is where you can take a sample if you think it's on one of those critical thresholds. Was it 35? If you think you're getting close there, then you're going to sample this, you're going to dry it, and you're going to screen it and do that little calculation I did yesterday by just measuring in a measuring cup the volume that you have, because we may be way off. Okay? So that was the, is that me or you?
Just to remind you that if Kent says we may be way off, you and I know that we will be way off, right?
I'm always off because it's a volume you're trying to get, right?
We've been doing it for 50 years, we will be way off.
Yeah. So I'm going into the AH2 and it's a whole lot harder to get my shovel in here.
So he's now working on grade again. Any guesses? Weak, moderate, strong?
Oh, there's a coarse fragment.
Real quickly, on the back sheet in your binder, there's a laminated sheet that will give you a ballpark volume, not volume, but percentage of what you're.
These, I got some well-formed PEDs here. They're holding together pretty well.
Anyway.
So what would you say the grade is here?
Any guesses on the grade? Throw a guess out.
Is
That's my guess.
that's your answer? This is a moderate grade. I'm having PEDs that are holding together, and then I have some loose material in here, but not near as much as that. And then I've even got some smaller PEDs. Okay, so we got a weak grade. What shape are these?
You have a weak, moderate grade.
Moderate grade, sorry. Yeah, keep me on track. So I got a moderate grade, and we don't have to do this, but just for fun, because you did it yesterday, or some of you did it.
This is why this book is important. You can step right through it. Helps enormously.
So it's,
Put that size under class.
yeah, that goes under class. So class is the size, yeah. So it's about 45 millimeters. So that would be a coarse. So this would be a coarse subangular blocky. Did I call it that, or we just call it blocky?
You didn't.
Okay, it's
You
a
had asked, has anybody got a guess on what the
shape was.
shape is?
Did anybody tell me?
No.
Oh,
I didn't hear.
I didn't hear.
you ask.
Oh, sorry. What shape? Subangular blocky. Do I have a secondary? You don't need to really record that, but yes, I do. So here's my secondary structure. Here's the primary. Anybody want to take a picture of this?
This is the primary?
The bigger ones are the primary. The primary is the biggest, generally. Okay? So, primary structure, secondary structure. So it's also subangular blocky. The grade will be the same. And those will be, those will be coarse. Actually, no, they're still, that one isn't. This one is. No, still got 30. So these secondaries, when you measure them, they still fall in the class as a coarse. Okay, so look at the range. Still primary structure, both of them.
And they're about 25 mil roughly.
These are ones about 30.
About 30?
So the range for a coarse is 10 to 20, and then 20 to 50 is the for medium it's 10 to 20. For coarse it's 20 to 50. So even though these ones are smaller than these, it still fits into the same size class. Therefore, this is not secondary because it's still in the same size class as this. Make sense?
So it's over in the primary.
Yeah, so it's still primary. So we don't have a secondary unless we wanted to go granular, which there may be some granular in here as well.
So why would the size of those heads make a difference? What is that going to do to our water movement? That's right. The smaller the PEDs, conceivably you have more angles, right, Kent? And you
Yep.
have better water flow through there.
Yeah, and better treatment.
And better treatment, exactly right. Less saturation.
Okay, well, that was number 2. Okay.
Only 112 to go.
No, I'm not going to continue. I'm going to do other things so these guys can get in the hole. They're getting the idea. This is the third horizon. Oh yeah. There was probably, from what I can see here, again 5 to 10%.
Is it too moist for me to shove it through my brass?
You can try it.
Did I bring it?
It's on the tailgate
yeah.
of my truck. Bring some water down too. Somebody, can you carry the water, Steve? Good thing I couldn't do that.
So what about the AH3? What are we looking at here in terms of grade? Yeah, it's a moderate. And we've got a coarse fragment there, another coarse fragment there. Appears that the coarse fragment content's increased.
So that would, so the change in horizon there makes a lot of sense now, because now the coarse fragment content is increasing.
That's what it's looking like, yeah.
And so is, even though we're still in a moderate grade, you can see the PEDs are kind of changing a little more dramatically and physically being able to see them.
So what's my shape here, gang? Subangular blocky. Our grade we said was moderate. And these would also be coarse. Yeah. So what are we looking at there? That's the either the AB or the
H4.
H4. Grade? Moderate. The shape?
Shape of it?
Subangular blocky. And it's also a coarse. Coarse fragments. Where I was around here, you can actually start to see them in here now. So we're starting to get an increase when I can see them in the face.
Ken?
Yeah.
Can you get me a big scoop of
Whichever
horizon you think has the most coarse? Just ballpark.
Yeah, I think, well, let's do this one. Where's your sieve?
The other thing is, you guys are going to be doing this all the time. I strongly recommend you get one of these. They're $100, but I have probably $1,000 worth of equipment in here. You don't want to be leaving this stuff at the car, or not forgetting it, or not remembering it. Holy cow, that'll work. The next thing after you buy this is to remember to put it back.
Record a percentage on the.
Put all your shovels back into it every time you use it,
Okay.
because you'll forget shit in the test bits.
It's looking
That's
like
the
10
4?
again. That's
This
the
is the
4.
3.
This is the 3. So we're looking again about 10 in each case. Yeah. But that's going to change down here.
Is this from third horizon?
The 4th.
Okay.
We're calling AB.
We're looking at. See, this is the other thing for when you're sieving stuff. Takes the small stuff right away. Pretty loose, pretty friable.
Fragment or thread? You cheated. Weakened it. Don't do it on my tarp.
No, I threw him a rock.
It's definitely hard.
It's definitely hard.
Oh yeah, we'll do the consistency in a minute. What have I got there?
No, it's in the fourth horizon, BF or 8. I mean, just catching it, right? Just catching it makes it go away.
What do you think I have in the BM?
Granular.
Okay. What do you say the grade is? Grade? I'm hearing granular, which I can accept. This is extremely weak. Now, when you pick these little granules up, and I don't know if you heard it when I dug the shovel in, listen. Hear that sound? What did it sound like when the shovel was going in? Really gritty, which is going to be sand. So my granular, as soon as I touch them, is going to single grain structureless. Okay? So your primary is granular and it's weak. But the true structure in here is structureless, single grain. Because this is extremely sandy. I would actually log it as single grain, okay? Because there's going to be a difference between single grain and granular. Now, this is where life gets interesting. When you're getting down to these kind of depths,
all you die-hard gravity people, gravity, this is important. Why?
Gravity people?
Why is this important what he's doing with the die-hard gravity people? You need 150 centimeters down, or 150
Vertical separation. Under the infiltration surface.
So that means your gravity would be here.
And then you can't do it. Because it's above grade.
We had a number of people saying in the class, we're just going to put that here. Why can't we just put that here? I had to throw that out there. It's kind of like the 3-inch pipe thing, isn't it?
I'm not going there. Don't get me riled up with a 3-inch pipe.
You're the one who taught the manual.
You're the one that picked it.
I'm starting to too now. So you're in the sea now.
I'm in the sea now. Did we do the structure? We did the structure for that one.
Yeah.
See how this happens? Didn't I tell you to make sure you put your stuff back in? Give me my trowel, you thief.
Orange, you nice.
Rocks.
Tim, the part that he's
I
doing,
think I'm trying to determine. I'm looking for big boulders, but I'm looking for something else.
Any laying or water?
Yeah, I'm looking for that. But how's this coming out initially on the shovel? There's big chunks. And it's hard to get the shovel in there. So when I'm down at those depths, I'm starting to look for massive. And that's what this is feeling like initially, because when it first comes out, those big chunks that are on the shovel are not forming repeatable shapes. However, when I play with it a little bit, it's breaking down into blocky, but whoa, something just happened there. It's a little platey. It's a little platey, just the way that fell apart.
is it still pretty dry?
No, it's moist.
It is moist.
Yeah. At this point, I don't see any modeling in it. So I would put down massive first, but massive can go into other shapes. So looking what I've pulled out of here, what would you say the grade was? Looking at this and this here. What's the grade? Moderate grade. The shape?
It's a
No.
angular block.
Angular block.
Yeah, it's becoming more angular, right?
It's not as rounded.
Not as rounded. No, we haven't done consistence yet. We're going to do that in a minute. So blocky, and these are very coarse.
So angular block.
Angular blocky, and they're very coarse. They're greater than 50 millimeters. What do you got?
Here's a bit of a surprise.
So this was from the AB transition.
A little bit more than, what were you saying? 5 to 10?
Yeah.
There's still a little bit of smaller stuff in there.
Yeah.
I can't get it quite all out, but most of that is 2 millimeters or bigger. Isn't it, Gar?
Yep.
Kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So here's why your sieves come in handy.
Okay, about 34%.
34%, exactly.
34%, yeah.
But I would boost it to 20, wouldn't
I
you?
would definitely boost it to 20.
Yeah, yeah.
Can everybody see that?
And that was the fourth?
That was the fourth horizon, yeah.
And we're still looking at small.
Everything above 2
Yeah.
millimeters is gravel. That's a coarse fragment. Everything above 2 millimeters is a coarse fragment, which is considered gravel.
And they're
So then, what do we do with the sub?
They're rounded, sub-rounded. Yeah, so sub-rounded, yeah.
That's what we get our texture on, right?
Hey Ken,
Yeah.
for that sea horizon then, if it was massive, would your sub-horizon then be the blocky?
Yeah, that would be what we'd call the secondary structure.
Secondary, but would
Yeah.
you go off primary there? Would it be massive in our design?
Yeah, I would go with the massive. Well, I'm just putting that out there right now. Then we're going to figure out what the rest of the stuff tells us. It looks like it's fairly sandy, so, and we got structure, and we'll have texture. So
Are you
maybe
you're talking about the sea horizon?
yeah, yeah. But what I wanted to point out here is when you're getting to these depths, you want to see if you have massive, okay? But we've got structure as well, so maybe we'll want to work with that. But I'm just pointing that out. When you're getting down deep, how easy is it to get the shovel in? So it's a little bit of work to get in there. So it's definitely harder. All right, where are we at?
Well, I didn't get any of the consistence on
We only-
anywhere from the second horizon down to,
Okay,
so we didn't work on consistence.
okay.
Or some of the grades I missed in it too.
I think everything was moderate grade except for the very top AH. It was weak. I think that's what we went with.
Yeah, okay, I got all that, yeah. Now, I didn't get any secondaries on any of those, so.
They're pretty much
so
all the same. Yeah.
five,
We haven't done,
yeah, 90 to 130 was weak. Yeah, I went through a very weak structureless or extremely weak structureless for single grain.
yeah, there's a fair bit of sand in there. Okay.
And that's the same thing, structureless?
No, this will be very coarse and probably coarse for the secondary on that one.
The other thing you guys are going to need, with your kit for doing these kinds of things,
That's a friable, so that's good. So this sea horizon may be just fine.
Because if it was massive, you wouldn't be able to do it.
No, it's not clay. So let's scratch the massive. I just wanted to show you the process that I go through. So scratch the massive. So I'm doing the moist consistence for the sea.
Yeah. Oh, C again, yeah?
Yeah,
And you had friable. Oh, that's the second?
it's the same thing. So very friable to friable on the sea. On the AH2, all moist. It's friable. AH3. That's definitely a friable. It's a little harder. AH4. You see what I'm doing here, you guys? So that's another very friable, or friable to very, hold it, very friable to friable. You just take it, squeeze it gently, read the criteria. My BM, did I do that? Oh, what do you think it is if it's single grain? It's loose.
Moist too, I imagine?
Everything's moist, yeah.
Which is different than wet.
Wet, you can actually see the water on the face.
Yeah. And moist is fairly common.
Did you want to record a
Wet.
secondary for the AH3 and the AH4?
I think we looked at them and they were still in the same size class. AH4, yeah, we called it angular blocky, very coarse, and then angular blocky,
That's the one this side of the shovel, I think.
yeah, that's this one.
Blocky course or just angular?
Either or, they're sort of borderline, but when you break them, they tend to go a little more angular. You see that?
That's in the secondary?
So primary is very coarse, the secondary is coarse. And they all know how to do textures, right? Do I have to do one? You want me to do one?
Did you all have fun doing texturing yesterday? And
Well, you know
all
what?
know what you're doing, right?
Kent,
I can do-
let's let them do the
Yeah, I'm
you
going to
guys
let
are
them
gonna
guys
come
in.
to the pit and do texturing.
Yeah.
Except, I don't know about Krista, if you had any texturing experience. But
Well, I took the Bacosa soils course, so like with an instructor. That's the only time I've had.
Did you get in the test pit and get
Yeah.
dirty? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you should be able to do it. Try it. What the hell?
All right.
Would you consider your coarse fragments in your sea horizon cobbles?
Yeah, they're cobbles and there might even be some stones in here, but yeah, most of them are cobbles. So that horizon, definitely you want to take a big sample, and the same with the BM. I would say the BM, looking at the BM right now, we're looking at 50%.
would you like me to record that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 40 to 50.
And in the
C
horizon up
is,
there?
they're smaller. We got some big ones here. I would say they're, I would say 40. And that's, I'm guesstimating based on this little hole here, right? So those two horizons, definitely you want to sieve them out and see what the coarse fragments are, because the BM is going to be, from what I'm seeing right now with the coarse fragments, that horizon's going to limit, you're going to have to lower the loading rate, because I think there's too many coarse fragments in that horizon. So, do we have a little discussion on limiting layers? Or
Yeah, but just before you go to limiting layers, so I want to go back to gravity systems, whether you're doing gross gravity or gravity. Let's say you were to take an excavator or whatever and dig this down a little bit more and realize that maybe you didn't have a water table and you had your 150 centimeters. What's going to make you eliminate gravity in here? Just by the discussion in the last 5 minutes. I would say the coarse fragments and when you were listening to the shovel go in and how that breaks down over there, I'd be very reluctant, because you have to go quite deep in order to get your gravity in, right? Because you need 150 centimeters below the that's the infiltration surface. So does that sort of answer some of the questions that people had about gravity, or maybe they were just casually smart remarks? I don't know, but I wanted to point them out. Okay, it's not that easy to get a gravity system in. But contrary to most people's belief in other areas.
Contrary to most homeowners' belief.
Yeah. And homeowners.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go and do the coarse fragment shaping while you talk about
Okay.
limiting layer.
Okay. Now, Steve was going through, and Garth and I, pay attention, gang. The definitions of limiting layer in SPM 3. It's most confusing. In Alberta, this is what the limiting layer is. What you would do, and what I would do here, I would get my texture. We've got our consistence. I would figure out the loading rate for each horizon. Got that? You figure out the loading rate for each horizon. If you've got more than, you've got 35s to cut off, what's your other cutoff? 60? You just lowering the loading rate at 35, or do you have an actual cutoff like it's 70?
Yeah, I think it's 70 actually.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to do it at all. I have to look that up.
Yeah, okay. So,
I never get up that high.
yeah, some sites you will. So if we have, let's just say for argument's sake, I have 3 horizons. And I'm just going to pull numbers out of my head. They don't make any sense, okay? Let's say I can put 1 gallon per square foot on the top horizon. And I can put half a gallon on my second one and a full gallon on my third one. Which loading rate are you going to choose? The half gallon. The horizon with the lowest loading rate is the limiting layer. Okay? The SPM 3 is extremely confusing, and at one point it says that the layer just above the restrictive is your limiting layer. May not necessarily be true. So once you've got all your data, then go through your tables and figure out the loading rate for each one of your horizons. And that's what you're going to design to, because you've got this nice horizon down here, but if we've got too much gravel and we can't even use it, that becomes restrictive. But right now it looks like it may be okay, but we need to deal with the coarse fragments. Am I making sense? Making sense? No? Yes? I want a coffee? Okay. So, when you see this nice black soil here, that tells me that there is a ton of biological activity going on from here to here. Why the heck would I want to put an effluent system in below this when most of my effluent treatment can take place in here? This is the good stuff. That's what you want. So I often question, why are we going down so darn deep in some of these things? Because that's where your treatment takes place. So keep that in mind. This is a beautiful site, actually. I haven't seen AH horizons this deep anywhere before in my life. So every soil pit I've done is different. The other thing you want to really be cautious of is you've got a pit here, they're digging another one over there. Do not make the assumption that they're the same. They are not. The difference between that end of the pit and this end of the pit may be different. We had a site, where were we, in Nanaimo?
Yes.
Yeah, so we had modeling down about this level here. The slope was about like this, but when we got to the end of the pit, the modeling was up to here. All right, so don't just focus right in this little narrow area. Look at your entire face to see if there's some kind of irregularity. Sometimes you will have a boundary. Let's say I have my A, and at the bottom of that, the boundary is doing this. It's wavy. You want to go with the minimum depth for that horizon for the A, not the deepest, because if you use the deepest and most of it is shallower for that horizon, then you're going to have an overloading. Is that making sense? So pay attention. Is your boundary straight, or are they doing something? And on the coast, in our podzol soils, the ones with the really red horizons, sometimes they will do this. Okay, so you need to work with the shallowest depth when you got horizon boundaries that are wavy or what we call irregular. And you'll find these on the coast, those on the coast for you that are there. Also in these soils in the interior, what you may find is a calcium carbonate layer, which is a white one. They're usually down about here somewhere. I just say those are restrictive because the calcium carbonate is plugging up all the pores. On the coast, look for cemented horizons. Even in gravel deposits, you may find a layer that's absolute concrete. Key, subangular blocky, that's your primary because it's the biggest.
Right.
It breaks the granular.
So subangular blocky should be your primary.
That's your primary. And that breaks to granular, which is your secondary. You can't have a secondary going to blocky, right?
Right.
However, the granular is the dominant one in there.
Right.
That's what you're going to choose for your loading, okay? That's why the secondary is really important to grasp it. You need the two, because that secondary may be what's going to be controlling things. So for example, if you're in glacial lacustrine and if you're not used to that stuff, it comes out blocky, it comes out angular blocky. And if you don't look at it, you won't see the plates.
Right.
So the primary is angular blocky or blocky, and you can use that. You miss the plates, you've just hooped your system in that stuff.
So are we choosing to change that to granular now because the secondary is dominant in this?
That's what I would use. I would record them both.
Okay.
Okay. But then make a note that the granular is the dominant, and that's what I'm going to use.
Okay.
Good. Yesterday, it could be, you didn't get to see that one. If you've got some blocks in there, but granular is the dominant one,
Yeah.
record that as your structure because that's going to be key in your design.
So that's
So
what
if
you're
you-
saying right there is you look at that, we take our PEDs over here
Yeah.
and you see that most of this is granular.
Then that's what I would go
And
with.
when you feel it and it like just falls apart in your
Yeah,
hand,
yeah.
and it doesn't hold its shape, it's like,
Yeah, it kind of does.
well, the ped does, but
The ped does.
the sample, you know, like
Yeah.
if you just like put the
So yeah. No.
Okay.
What's closer on the first page? It looked to me like the bottom one on the left there.
Yeah, it's
That's what
the
looked
bottom
like
of
the
the quarter.
closest we've seen so far. Now, when you're using that, Kent, is it better to have the material dry or moist when you're using that?
color on my description form. There's color 1, color 2. Usually you do moist and dry.
Okay.
But if it's always going to be moist, just do the moist. But if I'm doing a soil description for surveying or something, I'm going to do both. Back to the first one.
first one.
Yeah, I think it's the first one. This is a tougher one.
Yeah, it's a tougher one.
This is a tougher one.
So you can actually go halfway if you wanted to, that precision. I could say 10YR 3.5
Mm-hmm.
over 4.
Geez, I don't know.
You know? But you're probably
Like this is too light, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's definitely in this row.
Yeah.
And I think this is too dark.
Yeah.
That's too dark for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I think it's in between those two, isn't it?
The last two, or these two.
That's a tough one.
Like this looks too orange. Is that what you're thinking, or
I
yeah, maybe it's I don't know.
So that's 3.5.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the one where Kent's middle finger is
3.4.
then.
Yeah, maybe it is the 3/5.
Okay. Do you want to go 3/5 or 3/4? or 3? What do you want to do?
Let's do the.
3/4 is so close.
I go over 4. Yeah.
And it's nice.
okay.
I actually like that color.
Okay. So like I said,
I
there's a
love
whole
colors.
bunch of different colors that my eye can see, your eye can see that don't
Yeah.
match the chip, right? So you're getting the closest one.
You're getting the
Right.
closest one. So we nailed it fairly close anyway.
Mhm.
So we had what, 3/4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I come over here, 3/4, and this is a dark yellowish brown.
Okay.
It's not a reddish brown.
Right.
Okay. So that's how you get the precision.
Yeah.
Now, that's how you do it. So,
Okay.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
that's
That's
pretty
awesome.
Oh, it's nice.
Look at how it comes through and then down and then it's all. Colors from here, the change must be the rock.
Yeah, there's a burn layer right here.
Yeah, we had a fire going through. See how it goes from that burn layer and then it comes up, it's layer. But that's how forest fire gets going, it stays going. That would be an illusion.
Charcoal in the fire.
See how it's grayer underneath that?
Yeah, yeah, from here it's
See, it's falling apart.
Sandy loam.
So that little bit, I'm curious to know what you're.
Okay, so
But
when I
this is
pick it up,
master.
Let's,
Two.
let's listen.
okay, so you can do this 2 ways. You can push it this way. And I pick it up and it breaks. I pick it up and it breaks.
Less than 2.5 for sure.
Okay, so these pieces here are the lengths. And then-
Crazy.
so if I
That's such a
do-
good
see,
way.
So
You can do that instead of.
you could do that
squeezing it.
instead of the other one. So what I found is when you got more clay in it, this seems to work better than this. So this is now coming out as a sandy,
Sandy
loam.
loam.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now I'm going to show you guys another little trick. For those who didn't see it in class yesterday. I got another pair of jeans at the hotel. So if I make a cube,
Would you go put on your sandy
What's
loam?
that small like that. make a little cube, I get a mental impression of how big it is. I then add water. I smoosh it up. Now you can feel the sand in here, right? You've all felt that.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to cup my hand.
Drain it out.
And what this does, it drains out the silt and the clay.
You're like panning for gold.
Basically, yeah.
Modified jar test.
Maybe we'll find some.
Now I've got my sand, so now I put it back into my little cube best I can. And do I have more than 50% or less than?
I'd say less.
My cube one much bigger than
I'd
that.
say almost it
more.
is your cube,
It's pretty damn close to my cube.
like 80%.
All right. So if you look at my book, is mine here somewhere?
This?
Yeah, open that up to section 6. So this book, each section on the description form that I use is numbered.
Okay.
So section 6 is
Oh, I'm getting it
texture.
all dirty.
Doesn't matter. This is basically waterproof paper. It's pretty damn close to
All right.
waterproof, so you can get it muddy.
Okay.
Okay, keep going back. Back. Texture back. Okay, now I've added all of these percent sands and clays from the B.SC one. Now, if you look at sandy loam, sandy clay loam, 45 to
Oh.
80% sand, right?
Yeah.
Sandy clay,
Right?
45 to what, 65?
Yeah.
So if I've got 50%, I know it's one of these three.
For sure.
And I've just eliminated all of those just
Yeah.
by doing that little simple test. Okay. Do you all see that white band? See it? And if you look at the rocks in behind you, you'll see it on there too. So to tell if it's calcium carbonate, you just drop some acid on it, and look what happens. It fizzes like crazy.
Effervesces.
Effervesces.
What
Okay.
kind of acid is that?
10% hydrochloric.
And you can, it's something like 33%, you have to dilute it with.
So what happens is calcium carbonate comes down through the soil. It's dissolved because there's carbonic acid in the atmosphere. So just the rainwater is acidic. It dissolves the calcium carbonate and it comes down through the profile. Let's see if I can find one where it's just on one side. Here we go. You guys can't see. Let's get everybody on one side. I can't talk to the back of my head. So this would be sitting in the soil like this. The rainwater comes down around the stone and then it gets taken up by either microorganisms or plant roots or whatever, and the calcium carbonate then just precipitates out on the bottom of the stone. So this is called secondary carbonates. If the horizon above, you put acid on it and it fizzes, that means there's calcium carbonate in there. That's not an issue. It's when you start seeing it as the secondary precipitate that this becomes then restrictive. So what happens, it'll start on the bottom of the stones first, and sometimes that's all you'll see. So it may not be a problem. If the process goes on long enough and there is enough calcium carbonate in the soil, it begins to actually plug up all the pore spaces, and especially in fine textured soils. Okay, so the fine textured soils, this will form a white horizon. So if you come down A, B, and then you see a white one, suspect this right off the bat. To check it out, just put acid on it. Sometimes you will find volcanic ash layers in our soils around here. It'll be a white band, sometimes very thin, and other times it'll be quite thick. If you put acid on that, it won't fizz. Okay, it won't fizz. If you look at it under a hand lens, it will be quite sharp-edged. So a volcanic ash layer then counts as a horizon and it's given the letter C because it's a new parent material. So this can be totally plug it off. You'll see it in the grassland environments here, which we call our Chernozem soils, in the brunosols, which we're sitting up in here now, and sometimes in luvasol, but basically in the drier environments, the ponderosa pine, Douglas fir areas, and the grasslands is where you'll expect to find this horizon. Now, if there was no calcium carbonate in the original parent material, you're not going to see this because it's not there. The reason it's here is there's not enough precipitation to actually leach it right out of the soil. The term leaching means it has been removed completely from the soil horizon, or from the soil profile. That's what leaching is. So to say that this was leached, it's not leached, it's precipitated out. Okay? So we have another term, I won't get into that, but what moves from A to B are clays, calcium carbonate, sodium salts. We don't have to deal with that in this province, unless you're in the grasslands and you decide to put a septic system in a pond, which has salt in it.
Or you have a reverse osmosis machine being dumped into the septic field, into the septic system.
Yeah.
Yep.
So iron, aluminum. Aluminum is colorless, but iron gives the red colors to the soil and the yellow colors to the soil. Iron and aluminum can actually cement at depth. And if you looked at those samples I had at yesterday, some of those were been cemented by iron that had come down and then it precipitates out again and forms a restrictive layer. So that's what precipitates are. Iron, aluminum. In the luvasol soils, which we have through the interior here, they develop on clay-rich parent materials. Beginning to understand what the orders are and the environments they are in is really, really helpful. Because if anybody wants, maybe I'll just send them out to you, Garth. I've got all the soil maps from the federal government for all the provinces. And they're quite accurate. So if you going into an area and you look at that map, look at the legend, you find out what you have there before you go in the field, that's really helpful. If it's a luvasol, I'm going to expect clay films coating the PEDs in the B horizon. The texture is going to change. Now, luvasolic soils develop on a clay-rich parent material. So, I've got a luvasolic soil. I know I'm going to expect clay. It's known. I have a brunosol. I expect more sandy conditions like we're seeing here. If I have a Chernozem, I'm going to have an AH horizon, and I'm going to expect to find this at depth. That's what we call CCA, this white horizon. You can't miss it when you see it. So the definition of the precipitated one is you can actually see that layer. On the coast, you get lots of iron and aluminum moving down. You get the podzol soils. They tend to be sandy, and those are usually good for systems, except look for a cemented horizon, not a weakly, maybe cemented, whatever, cemented, but they are concrete. You can find concrete horizons in the podzols on the coast. So understanding a little bit about each soil order, and that handout that I gave out yesterday in the class, look at that, because I tell you what the restrictive layers are going to be if you're dealing with that soil. The more you learn, the easier your job's going to be. And that table I handed out yesterday with the 10 orders, horizons and environments, that's the first step for my students. They learn that, they memorize that, and I can come into the field without digging a hole and know what to expect just by looking around. And if you can get to that stage, you go out there, you know what you've got. I know I have this order. Even though the SPM says you don't have to know anything about it, I'm telling you, it will make your job easier. And that's what you want. You want to go out in the field with confidence. Here we've got a big group, we're all be able to talk. You're out there by yourself, and you haven't done a whole lot of soils. I could just see the panic coming in, right? That's what's going to, you're gonna freak out. So the more I push, the more I give you, the more letters I tell you what they are. Pay attention to that, because they can then be helpful for you. So the more you learn in this part of the game, and soils is the number one step, the most critical step in the whole design process. And it's not going to be learned overnight in one soil day. It's not.
It's a lifetime.
It's a life form. What I've seen today, I have never seen. I've never seen AH horizons that thick. Most of it's probably been slope walk, but they're this. I've never seen that, and I've dug more than 2 holes. All right, so
You listened, right?
so this is a new experience for me, which is awesome, right? So be aware that every soil pit's going to be different. Expect it to be different, and I'm just hoping all the best for you. But the more you learn, the better off it's going to be, and the more confident you're going to go out into the field with. So looking at the soil maps, finding out what soil order is there, understanding what's going on in that soil, what to expect in the field, gives you a lot of heads up. So if I know I'm going into a particular soil, I know I've got a whole lot of clay, I'm expecting it. So I'm looking for it.